Hey guys, thanks for watching this far. So now we're on section 15 of this entire tutorial series. So initially I had recorded this in a few different segments, and the first segment was 15 minutes. But unfortunately for the first segment, the video actually stopped working. So what I did is I actually went through and re-listened to the audio of it and highlighted all the changes I made up through those 15 minutes. Now I did leave the last 9 minutes, or I think it was actually the last 14 minutes of good audio and video at the end. So what this video now consists of is roughly 10 minutes of me explaining all the changes I made in the first 15 minutes, okay? But unfortunately, you're just gonna have to kind of see where I wrote the code, and I did a good job, I think, highlighting where those changes were. But you can see where I made those changes, and then you can make the same changes in your code. And after about 10 minutes, you can still watch the last 14 minutes of me fixing things in real time, okay? Another thing is you can actually just download the finished product of section 15 in the link below. So if you click on the link below, what you'll see is I actually uploaded the finished work of section or of part 15, and you can pick up with me on section 16. So sorry about that, but I actually did my best, to give you all the files that you need so you can keep moving forward with us. I know you guys are sometimes using it for other projects, but you can kind of see the way it was coded. And if you want to see some of the logic that went through some of the other functions, you don't just want to download section 15 or part 15, you can actually still watch the last 14 minutes to see what we did there. If you're finding these videos very helpful, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe below. We've had a lot of growth in the last. I've only been going for almost 30 days at this point. We have over 100 subscribers. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you in all future videos. All right, let's see where we're at. So right here, what we need to do is we need to look at what the big changes we made. So the biggest thing we changed is you needed to go to the add helper funcs. So we needed to go to right here, so helper funcs, and we need to add this right here, extension UI application. Okay, that lets us hide the keyboard programmatically whenever we're using it. Okay. The next thing we needed to do was we needed to add the following to the half modal views. Okay. So if you go to half modal view, we needed to go to onEnded, and we needed to say that whenever you hide the half modal view, if there happened to have been some sort of text that you were modifying, you need to always hide the keyboard. So end editing. Okay, so you need to add this right here inside of the onEnded via the tap gesture. Okay, via the tap gesture. The next thing you needed to do was we needed to add the keyboard aware padding. Okay, you need to add it to the main VStack within the foreground. Okay, and now let's look at the other big chunks that we needed to change. Okay, so you need to go to new post view, and you need to create two new functions. You need to create, actually let's start at the top. You need to go and create a new enum. You call it that, new underscore step or ingredient, and you need to give two cases. It's either step or it's ingredient. Okay, and we also need to create some more state variables. Okay, and in the rest of this video, you might see that we're already creating these. So you might be one step ahead when we're creating these. If you are to follow through watching this and not just download the finished product. Okay. So you'll see that I added one for half modal show. That one's already been there. The title was already there. The placeholder, the val. I added one for height. Okay. I added one for ingredient index, and I added one for new item underscore type. Those are the big ones you need. You need to make sure you have all of these. Okay. This might have been later, after the glitch had stopped. So you might just be one step ahead when that comes around. Okay. So you need to have all these. So you pause and make those. Okay. The next thing you need to do is, so that was need to add, okay, that's the enums. So we have the state variable for new item type. That's good. We need to create the function to update the half modal. So what you want to do next is you want to create this function here. Okay, this function is within the struct of new post view. Okay, it's within, you can see it's within we are still within the structure. Okay, and we need to create, it's called update half modal. It needs to have title string, placeholder string, and item type. It's going to be, its type is going to be this enum up here, okay? So you need to have that, and you need to have the height as well, okay? And this needs to be the insides of that function. Okay, so these parameters will modify the state variables that you just finished creating. And you need to take this update half modal function, and if you remember, anytime you were clicking on, let's go ahead and run it so you can understand where you were using it. If you grab that, I'm gonna grab it so you can see where I pasted it, okay, where I used it. So I used it whenever you were in ingredients, you wanted to add a new ingredient, you ran this function, okay, one function to change the title, the placeholder, the item type, and the height of the modal, okay. So I used it a total of 4 times, okay. I used it once here. You should recognize everything surrounding it. You should have the same exact code surrounding it, okay. You should also have it here, okay. And if I scroll down, you'll see it again. Right here for add a step instead of add an ingredient, and right here for add a step, okay. And so essentially that's the function you're running every time you click here or every time you click here, okay, or here or here. All right, I'll save that, and that is this function, okay. We should have modal and we use that function, good. Another big one, big, is you need to make sure that this list is a state variable, okay? That is crucial. And this list right here needs to be a state variable as well, okay? So if you have all those things changed, you should be pretty caught up. The last thing that I didn't, that I did while the visual was not working, so I created this function. It's func add new item, okay? And this is what the inside should look like, okay? So new item type is referring to that state variable that I created all the way at the top, and that is of type enum that I created up here, okay? And we're saying if it's a step, then add the new step, okay? And we haven't started any of this stuff. This if new item underscore type is, sorry, else if new item underscore type is equal to dot ingredient. So we haven't finished that, okay? So that's what we'll do in the next video, okay? It won't be in the rest of this video. So you should have something that looks like this, okay? And the only place we use that is whenever we click on this. So when you open this, whenever we click on this button, okay? Once I click on that, it should add a new step. So where do we find where to use that? If you look inside your half modal setup, what you should see is that at the bottom, instead of just having the image, we put that image as inside of the button, and we said the action of that button is to run the add new item function, okay? So I'm going to scroll up a little more, and the only other change I made is that modal height for the half modal view now refers to half modal height, which is that new state variable we created up top, okay? And that has a default value of 380, rather than just saying it's constantly 380. The reason we did that was because when you get around to it in the rest of this video, you need it to be a little taller so you can have this unit selector, okay? So those are the big changes that I made. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to scroll all the way to the top, and I'm going to slowly scroll down, and you can pause and make sure yours looks exactly like mine, okay? So, well, if you're going to go ahead and do that, to be honest with you, you might as well just download the project from the link below, okay? I'm really sorry about that. I will make sure that that doesn't happen again. So if you want, you can kind of just, if you're following up through video 14, that's good. You can actually just now grab this item from the video 15 files, okay? So there's a link below where you can download that, and then you can start video 16 with me at the same place where I had intended for you to leave off the end of video 15. You can keep watching and see how I did everything else in real time past the few things that I mentioned in here, okay? But it's really up to you, and that'll kind of give you an understanding of how I wrote and how I thought. But if you want to just pick up on video 16, that's completely okay too. All right, doing that same thing too. Notice I commented out all of our previous stuff, so right now it's technically empty, okay? So we'll scroll all the way back to the bottom, and now add new item has no issues, and we just need to make it say self.add new item because we're inside the action closure. We'll save it, and the only thing I want to do here is I just want to go to that for each step, and where was it? Right here. And I'm just going to make the text say, I'm just going to add something. I'm going to have string interpolation. And then I'm going to have this step dot order number. Okay. Save it. We'll run it. Now that it's running, all right. Logs in. Add new step. A. Okay. I'll make this one BBB. Okay. And CCC. The last thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to the right where I had this text thing, and I'm actually going to keep that, so I'm just going to say +1, so that way it doesn't start at 0, it starts at 1. And we can move over to the ingredient side. Now notice we have one key thing missing here, okay? And ingredients, we need to put another field here where we can keep the amount, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to create let's go over to, I guess the best way to go about doing this is if we go over to the half modal view, where we had this text field, I think the best, I'm kind of working on the fly here, so what I would do, most likely, is I would actually take this text field and put it inside of an H stack, okay? And the reason I'll put it inside an H stack is I'll actually put a text field right next to it. And this second text field, I'm gonna re-indent it to look like that. What I will do is I will actually make this text field have a frame width of, let's just give it like 40 or something like that for now. And let's put a spacer between the two of them. The spacer is going to have a frame width of, let's just say 20. Okay, and let's make the keyboard type for this text field. Let's see if it'll autocomplete for us, if it is willing. There we go. Dot number pad. Let's save it and run it, okay? Let's see what we get. Should be promising. While that's building, I'm gonna also change. Here, let's see what we got. Okay, plus add new ingredient. All right, there we go. So I probably want less space in there. Honestly, probably don't need any space considering they have these external paddings. Okay. And yeah, I guess I could realistically even just put them with no spacer. Let's just go ahead and get rid of that spacer entirely. And let's make this text field placeholder just to have this hashtag right there, this hash symbol. All right. And yeah, the one thing is I will say, what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to say if, and then this is where it gets fun. So I can actually use this new item type to dictate whether or not I'm going to even show this. So I'll say if new type is equal to dot ingredient. There we go. Dot ing. Which means it's only going to show that if this is true. So save it, run it. Which means that if I click, there we go. Just want self again. Which means that if I click add new step, I shouldn't see this number option, but I should see it if I click on the add new ingredient. So let's take a look. And we'll say add recipe, add new ingredient. Okay, add new step. It's not showing in either of them, and I can almost guarantee why. It's because right up here, when we did some copy and pasting, this right here, when we have our update half modal running, it should say ingredient. Whenever we click on that other one, dot ingredient, we'll bring that for dot ingredient here as well, and that should do the trick right there. Okay, so I just saved and ran it. Here we go. All right. add new ingredient. Sure enough, now you go over here and add new step, and it just says add new step. So we use that true false just to set that up right there. Okay, and go ahead. And then now what we need to do is we need to do a new ingredient. We need to have the number, we need to have what it is, and we need to have a unit now. Okay, so now we're going to set up the units. To create that picker, let's go ahead and see what we're going to do. We're going to go make sure we're in new post view, and what we want to do is we want to make a VStack right here that contains that H stack that we just created. So VStack. So where we are, we're in the half modal view. We're modifying that half modal view. Okay. So that VStack's on the outside. I'm going to re-indent everything. Okay. So minimize that, and we'll say if we're going to use the same argument again. So or same conditional. So right there. So if that is also, so this is an ingredient, then what we need to do is we need to create a picker. So I went through and kind of really worked out everything we need to do with that picker. So, so we have, let's go ahead and create, I don't know why Spotify just refuses to close. Okay. So we have the picker that we're going to put in here. And let's look at the initializers we can use. If autocomplete decides to behave. Let's go ahead. I'm going to copy and paste and we'll talk through it, okay? Sorry to do that, but it's just not really behaving. So there's a few things we need to look at here. So I'll comment it out so we can talk about it piece by piece. But we need to create essentially a picker that will take a selection argument and a label argument, okay? And at the end, we need to, sorry, picker right there. And then we need to dictate what's inside of that, okay? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to roll through all the different, if you remember, we created all the ingredient units over here. So what I want to do is I need to add one more thing here. We need to make it say case iterable, okay? So now that it says case iterable, what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to say for each, I can say from 0 ... or ... less than, I can say ingredient unit, and then I can say all cases dot count, okay, which means I can actually run through all the different cases, and I can use that as my array that's creating all the options in this picker. And then I can say for each one of those options, I want you to create a new text that's going to say ingredient unit. And then it runs through all the cases as the array, and it runs through in places, creates a text for each of those, and we need to make sure it's raw value, so that way when I say raw value, what that means is that it's going to actually write this out, okay? And we need to put the tag dot tag, and the tag is crucial because the tag is actually what we're tracking as we kind of scroll through the picker. As we scroll up and down through that picker, we're essentially tracking which one where in the array we chose to keep. So what's going to happen now, the next thing we need to do is we need to track that tag. So I'm going to go all the way to the top here. I'm going to create a new state variable, okay? And this one is going to be called @state var ingredient unit index, or yeah, index, and I'm going to set it equal to 0, okay? And then what I can do is I can actually take that and put it here. So I'll say ingredient index, ingredient index. So what I'm telling it is that it needs to track where I've been in the picker, and it needs to save that into the ingredient unit index, and I'm going to give it a label. I'm going to call it unit text. Sorry, one more right there. And that should be pretty happy, actually. So what I can do is I'll just run it. Let's see what we got, okay? This should work pretty well. We're definitely going to have some aesthetics issues, but we'll fix that. All right.
So let us look here and see what we got. Add recipe. If I add a new step, nothing's changed. But if I add a new ingredient, now we're talking, all right? Now notice everything is, this is way too tall, okay? And we don't even have the plus button on the screen because the contents of this is so large, it's going off, okay? So what I want to do is I definitely want to, I want to give this a frame height of, let's just say, let's cap it out at like maybe 90, okay? And I want to say clipped, and let's give it a small padding, okay? And let's just see what happens with that. And then the next thing I want to do is I actually want to go over to my half modal again. And what we're actually slowly making this half modal more and more customizable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let's go ahead and do this. Let's create one more state variable up in new post view. We're going to create one more state variable, okay? And we're going to call this half modal height. Half modal underscore height, okay? And that is going to be equal to, it's going to be CG float. We'll give it a default value of 380, just like we had already, okay? And we'll make this half modal height. Half modal height, there we go. And what we can do now is we can take, when we have update half modal, this function that we created very elegantly, which was a great move, we'll ask it for one more thing. We'll say half, we'll just say height. We'll say half modal height is equal to height. And this would be, CG float. And we can say, yeah, we'll just stick with that, okay? And then every time we run that function now, yep, it's exactly what we wanted. We just want to fix that up. So if we're doing a step, remember a step is short, so we just need 380. Step, 380. We'll go ingredient, 450. Actually, let's do 470. See what that looks like. We'll do 470 on this one too for the other ingredient one. 470. We'll run it. And let's see what happens. Aesthetically, it should be a lot more pleasing already. This is probably where we'll call it if it looks good, just to make sure these videos don't get too long. So add new step, perfect. Add new ingredient, also perfect. So no, I don't particularly like that, but I'll go ahead and take care of that in another one. And at some point, we're going to have to figure out how to deal with the fact that we are technically dragging, and this is reading it as a drag gesture. So we're going to have to fix that up, but we will get to that, okay? Thank you, guys. See you in the next video.